This morning, joining me now here in studio, Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee and Financial Services Committee. I want to welcome to you and thank you for taking time on this holiday.
Good to be with you. Happy Easter.
And to you, sir, do you agree with the Prime Minister in terms of what he said? Do you think President Putin is trying to rebuild the Soviet Union?
I think that President Putin has an interest in the area. I don't think that, whether he has a desire to rebuild the Soviet Union, I don't think that he can or he will. I think that we are in a serious situation, and the best thing that could happen is a diplomatic solution. Absent that, I think that if that's his dream, it's a pipe dream.
Interestingly, New York Times and Washington Post both reporting that the United States is deploying troops via NATO for exercises, and that would be happening on the ground there in Poland and Estonia. Now, we should say, is this any sort of saber rattling? Although, to be honest, it is just a company. It's about 150 soldiers in each place. But how do you interpret all that?
Look, there's messaging that's going back and forth. I think that the president is clear that nothing's going to happen on the ground as far as American troops. But I do think that we're trying to cooperate with our NATO allies, which is important, because I think the ultimate weapon that we have is sanctions. And the only way that sanctions will work with Russia or anyone for that matter is in multilateral way. And so therefore we've got to make sure we're continuing to work with our NATO allies. And if our NATO allies want some kind of maneuvering done on the ground with that, that's good. We're cooperating with them. And then if it comes to that point, we need our NATO allies to be with us for sanctioning against Russia, that they will be with us. There's a lot that's going on, and there's a lot of interconnectedness, particularly between our allies and Russia and their economy and the finances, because if we do, and a number of individuals are asking about us giving stricter sanctions, it's not only going to have an effect on the Russian economy, it'll have an effect on some of our NATO allies. And so we've got to figure all of this out to work together. And I think what you see is the cooperation between us and NATO, as it should be, as we try to resolve and deal with this issue.
Okay. Representative Meeks, we're going to focus back stateside here. As you know, when the House is back in session next Monday, the Democrats are going to try to push for a vote on the Senate's unemployment bill, the unemployment insurance. Republicans say, we're not going to vote on this bill until it includes some job creation measures. So how do you see this playing out?
I see it playing out that the Republicans are playing games. Every day, more and more Americans, Democrats, Republicans, independents, are suffering because we have not extended unemployment insurance. The American people are going to see through it. The president has been trying to talk about employment. You want to employ Americans? The president has been talking about it all along. Let's do an infrastructure bill. We can put Americans back to work immediately. Let's do that. The Republicans have refused to move forward. So I think the Republicans are playing games. They have gotten stuck on the Affordable Care Act, and now that over 8 million Americans have signed up and it's working, they don't know where else to go, because that's all I can say. The elections are going to be about ACA, ACA, ACA. ACA is now working. Americans are getting benefits from it. They don't know what else to do. And so I think that they're trying to, make there some smoke in the air some kind of way. But you know what? By the time November comes, the smoke will have cleared and the people will see who's been holding back America.
Is there any way, in terms of this long-term unemployment bill, I mean, these are almost 3 million Americans are being affected by this. Is there any way to pass and have another bill simultaneously going through that does job creation? Wouldn't that make sense?
I'm absolutely there. We should just pass unemployment. That should be something that's not a political issue. It should be something that's an American issue, because all Americans are hurt by it, and we should be able to do. I really had expected that we would have done it much earlier. We should have done it in January, right? We should have done it. We should not have allowed it to expire in the first place.
Yeah. You mentioned ACA, ACA, ACA. If we wanted to go and say that as many times as has been voted on by Republicans to try to repeal that, we'd be in the 50s here. Do you think now that more than 8 million people have signed up for this, that you're going to still be having votes in the House to repeal the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare?
Probably until at least the primary season is over, because the Republicans are playing, they still got the Tea Party folks and they're fighting there. And once, what happens is, once they see where the American public is moving and the American public is there after their primary season, then they've got to figure something else out, I would imagine, because I don't think that the ACA is going to be the issue that it was back when it first was rolled out. And the only reason is that issue is because of the poor rollout, not because of the substance of the bill.
Let's talk about what can only be called a holiday with the Friday news dump, if you will, on the Good Friday there. The White House announcing it's delaying its decision on the Keystone XL pipeline until probably 2015, but the note here is after the midterm elections. Is this such a divisive issue that among even just average voters, they have to put this off?
Well, yeah, I think it's a serious issue. Especially given what we just talked about with regards to Ukraine and other. We are now have more natural gas that we're starting to create and we can export, and whether we utilize it in that regards or not, and whether the pipeline will be good in that regards as far as energy is concerned. But also we have concerns what environmentally damages could be occurred. And so therefore you don't want to do anything in haste. You want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, because if in fact you figure that we are selling more LNG, and that's a good thing, but then in the long run we find that we are damaging our own environment, because, you know, what caution I give is some of the same individuals that we want to help, and we should, they refuse to frack in their own areas because of environmental concerns. And so we want to resolve that, because we only have one Earth. Right. And we've got to make sure that that is protected. And so anything that we do there, let's not just do it in haste because we think it's good for our economic concerns. Let's make sure we do it, and it's also good for our environmental concerns. So both have to be looked at very critically and weighed very carefully before we make a decision on that.
A judicious answer, for which I thank you. Thank you much.
My pleasure.